thank all of you for taking out time for joining today's webinar. Myself, Aditya Jain, and I would say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all. And thank you for joining today's webinar once again. With this note, what I would like to do is I would like to get started. So today's webinar uh, is all about understanding the kind of impact that businesses can make using the AI agents. And the topic for today's webinar is maximizing the business outcomes with the AI agent. So, so in today's webinar, in addition to the introduction of the special guest that will be joined by, we will understand why AI. We will also kind of, unfold certain aspects of the AI journey. We will try and understand the key industry trends in the AI agent adoption, the core benefits of the AI agent, and just to make sure that you are all are equipped with what we are going to talk about and how is it going to impact your day-to-day routine and how is it going to impact your clients. We also have scheduled the demo for the product, the nventr AI agent. And in addition to that, what we will also do is we will also go through some of the real world use cases of the AI agent. And towards the end, you can post your questions in the chat section, where we would, try and answer as many of questions as we possibly can. So allow me a second while I go ahead and start introducing our speaker today. Join me in welcoming Kai McDonald. He's the vice president, that we have in house, and he's the seasoned technology expert. I would say he's the veteran when it comes to the strategy, the AI driven business. At the same time, he's got his impact through the solutions that he's developed, and the kind of AI driven solutions that he has got under his belt when it comes to diverse set of industries. The kind of impact that he has made, that's simply impeccable, right? He's successfully implemented machine learning models as well as predictive analytics when it comes to consumer payment behaviors, as well as forecasting the energy usage, streamlining large scale document processing through the AI enhanced automation. So, and he does come with a strong engineering background, and he happens to excel at many things. But the most important aspect of it is harnessing the technology to kind of streamline operations and enabling strategic decision making. So, with that note, what I would do is I will just move on and start with the webinar. So, welcome, Kai. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar and taking out time for joining us for today's webinar. So, yeah.
Thank you, Aditya. Happy to be here. Happy to represent the nventr team and share a little bit more about what we're doing and where we see this can go.
Wonderful, wonderful. Happy to hear that. So let's get started without taking much of time from the audience. So could you please unfold certain aspects of why AI?
Yeah, so AI, or artificial intelligence, can mean many things to many people. It's obviously a very big buzzword in the industry today. And usually the way I refer to it is really kind of what we can achieve through machine learning or teaching machines to absorb and apply knowledge by using advanced algorithms. And so by achieving this artificial intelligence, well, why do we want to do it from a business context? For one, it can really enhance decision making, because humans are limited in terms of how much information they could process, how quickly they can move through that information, and how they can maybe spot a trend within that information, and that's really where computers or machines can excel, especially given the computing power that we have today. So the AI can actually use much larger data sets than humans can comprehend to identify very intricate, maybe some would call invisible patterns to humans, to help unlock things like predict future outcomes or identify issues before they become major problems. So it can really enhance the decision making. And likewise, if you're going to deploy an AI system or an agent-based system, and we're going to go through that in a little bit, we can take advantage of the way of the scalability here. So, if you're going to train an agent, or if you're going to use an agent to interact with an end customer or to participate in a back end business process, if you're going to maybe train a human, it might take a little time, and then if you have large volumes, all of a sudden you need to ramp up your human-based staff, and that can be
Right.
very long lead times, very costly. Where with these AI-based solutions, it's really can be automatic, just a matter of simple configuration, and they can scale up and scale down. Also, these AI systems, they don't need to sleep, they don't really need to eat, so they can really be available 24/7. So there's obviously a benefit, and all of these are really going to lead to increased efficiency and productivity. So, taking these maybe mundane tasks that that humans are working on, and allowing them to work on more higher level tasks, by automating those really mundane items. So this can lead to obvious cost savings, and potentially of unlocking of revenue opportunities as well.
Okay, wonderful. I mean, it's kind of fascinating to understand how AI is, taking the shape, and how is it, impacting a lot of businesses, right from decision making to how they are available at your disposal 24/7, and how you can scale, your business, and automate a lot of tasks that are kind of repetitive in nature, and eventually end up saving the cost. So those are some of the great insights that we could see. And with that note, let us just take a step back, and if you can just take us through the AI journey, that'll be great.
Sure, and I'm not going to go all the way back, because the reality is these algorithms, like neural networks, have been around, in theory, and then the mathematical premise behind them has been around for many years, maybe 50s to 60s or something. I'm not going to go back that far,
Hmm.
because really, a lot of the times they were limited based on computational power. But as we've seen with Moore's law, and with computers getting more and more powerful and more accessible, especially with kind of cloud-based deployment, it's really allowed for some of these theories to become actualized. But if we start, let's say, go back to the 90s and early 2000s, there were folks like IBM, deploying the Watson-based systems, which appeared to be, were known as AI or artificial intelligence. They could do things, win at games, at Jeopardy, and that sort of thing. But they were really based on giant lookup tables with huge, just very carefully curated data sets, and so not really applicable to most. It could do certain things really well, but maybe not. It could win at Jeopardy, or you could win at chess, but then that's kind of where it ended. It took a long time to set up. So it's really this kind of brute force system with giant lookup tables, and that was kind of state of the art back then. And then we kind of moved into the big data era, where everyone was talking, using the buzzword big data. Now people maybe use AI and as the buzzword of choice, but in the mid 2000s to 2010s or so, you started to see recommendation engines, these personalized recommendation engines with Netflix, and then simple assistants with Siri and Alexa, that were very good within a certain framework. But then again, the extensibility was a little bit low. But you did have a major growth in data set, open source data set availability. There were a lot of what we call discriminative AI models and algorithms being deployed.
Hmm.
So discriminative AI is really kind of like a classification. If I give you, an outcome in two images, is it A or is it B? Is this an apple or is this a banana? And the model would kind of identify that. Instead of generative AI, which is draw me a picture of a banana and generate that for me. So that we'll go through that a little bit more. But that's kind of the generative AI is where we are at present. But going back again in the early era, we had a big focus on discriminative AI, which is still very powerful. But a lot of these machines were trained for very specific problems. They could do very specific problems very well, but there was kind of this limited general intelligence in terms of having models that were good at many different things at once. And then in the kind of mid 2010s to 2020, we had this deep learning neural network boom, where we had driven by some of the big tech companies were able to develop much more advanced facial recognition models and even some early aspects of self-driving cars. And a lot of this was based on these deep learning models, and deep learning really are usually based on these neural networks that are actually kind of modeled after the human brain in terms of the synapses and the neurons. And we can go into those details maybe at a later date, but they require very, very large data sets, so much orders of magnitude bigger than the previous. But this and with that, with these advancements in the algorithms and these being able to push through these large data sets, we had these gains in terms of text analysis, speech, and image recognition. And then around 2020, there was this paper published by Google about a new architecture and or transformer-based architecture that is in relation to these neural networks, and that along with some other kind of developments led to what we call generative AI. So or large language models. So that's where the chat GPTs came around, and we started to actually get towards that kind of holy grail, if you will, of this artificial general intelligence. And these ones require very another order of magnitude larger data sets. So they're going to take the entirety of the internet that's been scraped, as well as every book, a digitized book that's ever been written, and push this through a training model to try to learn and detect these underlying patterns to generate these models. And they take millions of dollars to train, but once they're trained, you can actually apply them in very unique ways. And we're going to talk today about how we can take these LLMs, these large language models, and then make them more relevant and more useful to our particular business use cases. Because it's great that they're generally intelligent, but they may not know much about our customer. They're not going to have access to, for instance, customer database or histories and things like that, or certain contexts that really are required to make them useful for businesses. So that's a bit of the journey. It's exciting to see where we're going to go from there.
Absolutely, we certainly are. I mean, when we look back right from the 1990s till the early 2020s, I mean, we have evolved a lot when it comes to the AI, and I'm pretty much certain about the fact that this is just the teaser. We are yet to see a lot. So with that, if you could just take us through some of the industry trends, in the AI agent adoption, that would be great too.
Sure. And so some of the trends we're seeing is again taking these models. Some of these models are proprietary and require interacting with them via APIs, and again, any data that's sent to ChatGPT, it's going to become part of their new training set for their new models. But then there's others that are, for instance, Llama and others are actually open sourcing their models so that they can be, deployed locally on local infrastructure in kind of a closed environment, so that when you start to do the tuning and the tailoring of these models, then essentially you can keep all that data in-house. So there's a move towards that. There's also, sometimes you don't necessarily need these large, huge generative models, and smaller language models that might be better for certain types of tasks. Something that we're seeing as well. And techniques for model tuning and tweaking, that's we're going to continue to see those develop. A common one that we apply is RAG, but and LoRa. There's some others as well. the GPU, obviously, so even when you're going through self-hosting or when folks are actually training their own models, then yeah, again, there's going to be increasing demand for these GPUs or high-powered computers. Whether you're going to do it, with your own hardware and data centers, or whether you're going to leverage the cloud-based GPUs. There's definitely demand for that, especially when it comes to self-hosted solution. And then, of course, the regulation and ethics. We're going to have to see how this unfolds. There's a lot of noise there, but it's really I think it's not clear in terms of how regulation is going to limit the growth or the applications just yet. And then multimodal AI. We're already seeing a lot of this, but just going beyond text into images and videos and voice interactions, that sort of thing.
Okay, well, that's really nice to see the fact that some of the industry trends are kind of evolving too with the AI agent adoption, and this seems to be the beginning of the new era. Really exciting time ahead. So, understanding these aspects of it, like if you could also unfold some of the key benefits of the AI agent.
Yeah. So the AI agent, when we talk about the AI agent, we're talking about taking these large language models and packaging them in a way that either we can interact with them, or our end customers can interact with them through chat, through email, through SMS, through voice, or because it's actually a leader in business process automation, we can also take the power of these agents and have them working behind the scene to automate tasks in support of our clients as well. So so we can increase our efficiencies through task automation. So these agents don't necessarily need to be a chatbot sitting on your website or on a call center, which they definitely can. They can also sit behind the scenes and help automate processing of documents or other types of things. But they can, of course, enhance the customer experience with these personalized interactions. Again, you can kind of take the advantage that the LLM or these models can look across very large data like customer interaction histories and see a lot deeper than your typical call center agent. But then also interact with the human level quality, because they are trained to converse in many different languages using the types of language that the customer may be speaking to them with. So again, we talked about improved decision making, and then this obviously is going to lead to through cost reductions with these kind of increased efficiencies. And then again, we can scale this on demand very much cheaper than it would be to scale other types of resources.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, like in today's era, data is a new oil, and if you're able to make those data-driven decisions, eventually end up saving the cost and scale your business in no time, I think that's definitely going to get you the early movers advantage in the market, and help you scale, without even you realizing it, and acquire a bigger piece of pie. So yeah, that's really nice to understand the core benefits of the AI agent. And we are kind of super excited to kind of see the demo of the nventr AI agent. So, over to you for that, Kai.
Sure.
Let us feel of what it is all about.
Yeah. So we're going to show a couple small mini demos using kind of dummy data here. So we've got a few different demos here, configured. That folks can use, and we can share with you all, train you on if you're interested. Right here, the first one we're going to talk about is this kind of customer service agent. And so, as I'm sure most everyone is probably familiar with ChatGPT and these chat agents, obviously, they can answer a lot of questions of general intelligence, but they're not necessarily going to be able to immediately to back-end database of sales transactions. So the use case here is, okay, maybe I have a customer service, so I want to pair the power of the LLMs with my back-end system so that they can support customers when maybe they have problems with their products and questions and things. So we'll start today with this one, and then we'll get into a few different other ones. So so in this case, I'm going to play the role of a customer that purchased a product, a consumer product, and there's an issue with it, and I want to get it resolved. So I'm going to say, hi, I have a problem with my last order. And again, of course, we can support chat. We're going to also show multimodal as well. So now they're asking me, can you tell me a little bit more about it? Okay, sure. And I'm going to actually speak this part. Yes, my slow cooker arrived broken. And we're going to just, well, I didn't hit it. So yeah, obviously we can do speech to text, text to speech, and so now I'm going to actually, and now they're requesting me to look up order details. So this agent is connected to a database of all these transactions. So if I go order, for instance, order 100. Now the agent's going to go look into that database and identify details there associated with it. So yeah, they see the order, and again, if there are certain rules in terms of how to interact and what qualifies for refunds, all of that would be trained as part of an initialization. In this case, it looks like I'm eligible for a replacement or refund. I have to say, yes, I'll take a replacement. Replacement, please. So now they're going to send me an email, and they're going to give me some time expectations. So that's just kind of a simple example of an agent tied to a database for customer service, and I could ask many different questions about it. We're working with a lot of customers that may be interested in placing these in call centers. And there are other use cases there as well. I'm going to show another one now that you're just going to have to listen to because it's a pure phone-based deployment. So has a company that does class action administration in the U.S. So when there's a big class action settlement, for instance, suppose Apple decides that they owe everyone $5 because their phone gets too warm when it's charging. Then Rust goes in and says, okay, we'll contact everyone that's eligible and we'll send them letters, and we'll issue them checks, and we'll also create these call centers so that if there are questions, they can get those questions resolved. So has to send up hundreds of these mini call centers, and part of that is supporting kind of customer or FAQs from the folks calling in. And their previous method really was to use this kind of decision or tree or question tree where it says, if you're interested in this, press 1, and then you press 1, and then you're going to have another subset of options, and you're going to kind of work your way down to get where you need to go. And it's a very kind of lengthy process. So we deployed an LLM-based solution with RAG, where we just submitted training documents that they train with their agents, with their human agents, and in a few days we were able to deploy that solution. So a second here, put on speakerphone.
Thank you for calling. This is Rust Consulting. May I please have your first and last name?
Yes, my legal name is Angus McDonald.
Hi, Angus. What would you like to know about the process of having your payment reissued due to your name change?
Yeah, we don't need to. We can reissue a payment now. That would be helpful.
Unfortunately,
let me just start that one. Over 1 second, okay?
Thank you for calling. This is Rust Consulting. May I please have your first and last name?
My name is Angus McDonald.
Hello, Angus McDonald. What would you like to know about your check and notification?
Yeah, I received this notice in the mail. Can you tell me more about it?
You received a notice in the mail from XYZ client about your offline credit monitoring account being locked. As a result, you were charged for services you didn't receive. They're sending you a check as a refund for those charges. It's not related to any marketing or promotional program.
Interesting. So this isn't a scam?
No, it's not a scam. The letter is a legitimate notification from XYZ client to inform you that your offline credit monitoring account was locked, and you were charged for services you didn't receive. They're sending a refund check as a result.
Okay, I'm heading out of town. What happens if my refund check expires?
If your refund check goes uncashed after the void date, the funds will be transferred to the applicable state unclaimed property process.
Okay, and can I get it reissued?
I can put in a request for your refund check to be reissued. Please understand that the original check number will be voided and cannot be cashed. If you were to find the original check, you should destroy it. You should allow a minimum of 4 to 6 weeks for the reissued check to be mailed.
Got it. And who are you?
I work for Rust Consulting Incorporated. We're an independent contractor that's been retained by XYZ client to help answer questions about your check and notification.
Okay, thanks very much. I'll get back to you.
You're welcome, Angus. It was nice chatting with you. If you have any other questions or need further assistance in the future, feel free to reach out. Have a safe trip out of town.
Okay, thanks. So that's just kind of another example of a call center based deployment where it's really an FAQ agent. But as you can see, I got kind of dynamic with talking about I'm leaving out of town, and it remembered that I was going out of town when it was starting to say goodbye. So obviously, it's these agents are a little bit more flexible than the kind of prior automated systems or IVR systems that were in place. So you can again kind of leverage the power of these language models, but then pair it with data that's relevant to your specific use case. So that would be another type agent solution. So let me go ahead. And so those are kind of two demos so far. I mentioned before about business processing. Those two demos I gave you were kind of like how an end customer would maybe interact with our agent. But we can also use these agents I mentioned behind the scenes in workflows. So I'm going to go through another demo here where we actually put the agent in an automated workflow. So the background here is we're working with another company, IDEO, that does automated medical coding. So they, on behalf of providers or healthcare providers in the U.S. And for those not in the U.S., I'll just quickly say that when you go visit a doctor here, there's going to be some record that gets generated with notes and observations and maybe some readings, some values there. And so all of this information needs to be codified so that it into procedures and diagnoses so that it can be paid by insurance companies. So it needs to be converted from these lengthy PDF documents into a very specific kind of numeric or alphanumeric code structure that the insurance companies can comprehend. So I'll show you an example here. So here's just some redacted information, but you can see here's an example of a record, of a visit record. It's 34 pages of information. And this is an anesthesia type procedure. We won't necessarily go into the details, but just imagine, so we have a 34-page document here that then needs to be codified into, specific diagnosis and procedure codes. And so part of that is, the company is taking this information and needs to convert it into a way that can be interpreted by their AIs. Let me show you once. The problem is that they had an original OCR process, and that captures very limited amount of information in a structured way. So they might get some demographic information like patient first name, last name, dates of service, providers, etc. And then the rest of it, that lengthy document, is all going to be some long text string. And then but there's obviously in that long text string, there's some underlying structure that was lost. So as part of a way to help improve the processing of the automation of the existing, trained models that they have, we deployed agents, self-hosted agents, or these large language models to identify that underlying structure that like a human would, and come up with very well structured information. So you can see here that we have fields for patient information, and then subfields. We have fields for insurance information. We have diagnosis and procedure fields, and operative reports. So instead of having that big, long, uninterrupted text string, we're able to put this together. And we call it our Omega chart or super chart. And we're able to process this, in a workflow that we host on our normal nventr application. So it's just a block here where we can take those PDFs and automatically use the agent to identify the underlying structure, and then output that so that the downstream team that's actually doing the modeling and the prediction of the procedure codes and diagnosis codes, they can now use very well structured information to drive higher predictive accuracy there. So that's another kind of deployment that we have more on the back end. So were there any? I'll just pause there. Aditya, how are we doing?
I think we still have some more time left for the understanding of the use cases, and we are going to open the floor for the Q&As. We've received some of the questions so far that we are going to be answering in some time. But this is absolutely fascinating. I mean, the way we used to be on the calls, waiting for the contact center agent to kind of answer the call, going through that tedious process of the IVR. I think all of those are going to be the thing of a past very soon now, with AI agents taking over. And this is just one of the use cases. And I think the possibilities are simply limitless is what I can see. So let me just go ahead and share my screen once again, and we'll go from there. So we just saw one of the use cases, with respect to the customer support, and how the automation can take place when it comes to having it deployed, and also how things work behind the scene as well. So would you like to also take us through some of the other use cases of the AI agent? I mean, these are some of the few. Yeah.
Yeah, these are really just four of dozens or more, including ones I just shared. But we could just see on the demo, again, that 24/7 customer support, handling FAQs, on behalf of Rust or on product details. We kind of just shared that one. Again, it can be deployed as a multimodal in terms of it could be a chat-based interaction, it can be an email-based interaction, voice, SMS. So we could package this in any different ways. It just kind of depends on the individual requirements. Another way that we can leverage these agents is to have them help with the sales process. So by capturing whether it's interactions on the websites or interactions online, or any sort of kind of records that we have of customer-based interactions, we can use the agents to qualify leads and actually interact directly with potential leads and nurture them before they pass them off to a traditional sales support person. Another very active area where we're actually working with folks, a few different folks, particularly in the legal industry, is like in automated internal help desk. So taking all the company policies and HR policies, IT issues, technical policies and things, and feeding them into the LLM and making kind of an internal help desk that's automated to offload some of the HR team and IT teams day-to-day tasks, so they can focus on really the more one-off complex issues. So having the internal help desk agents, and then again personalized e-commerce. We've already seen there are product recommendations out there, and that's very common. But there can actually be agents that bring the human element or the human-like element to that personalized e-commerce experience. These are just a few agents. Like I said, there's another use case that we're working actively with now with another law firm to automate. This is a kind of a very nuanced, specific use case, but there's a law firm that goes after fraudulent transactions in cases, and we're able to take subpoenaed banking records, so millions of SWIFT transactions, and use the agents to actually identify suspicious transactions, and then not only identify them, but create automated narrative-based reports that are drafted for lawyers so they can identify the transactions of interest and also get information, background information about them, so to enrich the entities with other information, for instance, information pulled from the web or external sources, all into an automated based report that used to take consulting firms maybe 3 months. We can turn it in a few days.
Wow, that's absolutely tremendous. And I think these use cases that we just saw could be just the tip of the iceberg. And there could be, endless, I would say possibilities when it comes to certain use cases. And with that note, we can open the floor for the Q&A. I've got some of the questions through the registrations, and also some of the questions as we speak here. So I'm going to take some of the questions based on the time availability that we have. So the first question that we have from the audience is that what level of automation does nventr Agent support for the customer service and the agent support?
So the level of automation, you can see in the case of Russ Consulting for we're planning 100%. 100% automation, I guess, of the FAQ portion of it, and then there's going to be more advanced use cases that require interactions with databases or other types of tasks. So that's going to get passed through to their current process in the beginning, but then we're going to look to deploy that, to actually connect that as well in the future. So, but I would say that other folks sometimes, typically they're going to want the agent to handle what they can and then to pass to a human for challenging scenarios. But then there's other folks that want human touch first, and then maybe the agent handles scenarios where the human agent can kind of triage the situation and then hand it off to an agent for common type scenarios. So it really just is going to depend on the end client.
Okay, well, that's really nice to know. And when it comes to handling or creating certain custom commands or actions or some of the features within the integrated applications, which are beyond the basic chat functionality, like do we have any options to create these kind of custom commands or actions which are beyond the basic chat functionality?
Yeah, I think I showed. So in terms of custom, I'm a little confused by the question, but of course, we have voice. We could do partial voice one direction, voice both directions, email. I think we showed how we can connect to database, and so that you can look up specific information against a record or a customer, and make decisions based on that. So yes, I don't know if that answers the question.
Well, more or less so, because it was all about whether the platform is kind of capable to create custom commands or actions, within the integrated applications beyond the basic chat functionality. But that's totally all right. I think we did see the fact that, NK was kind of handling some of the workflow and automating a lot of things, as what we could see during the demo. When it comes to predictive analytics, does the product happens to have that? What kind of trends or forecasting can it support when it comes to, for example, sales or inventory or customer behavior?
Yes, so definitely, I think I kind of mentioned that before in terms of taking those historical behaviors and predicting future trends and outcomes. That's a core component of the strength of what these AI models can do. Whether you're going to train, a specific forecasting model that's maybe a smaller, more direct, discriminative model, or you're going to use a combination of that with a generative AI model. But both are doable.
I see. And what about the AI hallucinations? Like, I mean, in some of the cases, it may be there, but will it be a part of the inventor agent also? Like, will it happen here
Yeah.
too?
Yeah. So that's a good question. Yeah, and let me folks talk about it. These hallucinations. So really, that's the variability that you get with some of these large language models, and what some folks seem to. Maybe I ask the same question twice and I get different results. So there's a few approaches there. One thing is we do have the ability to tune the creativity of these agents and give, in terms of setting some guardrails on how creative we want them to get is one control we have. The other control that we have is really not necessarily just having the agent in and of itself be the end solution. So applying, especially if we're talking about maybe putting it in an automated process, or we can put downstream validations past the agent to make sure that the information coming off the agent meets our expectations. So we can put validation type guardrails in checks and balances, so the agent is not just kind of operating by itself. So there's a few different ways you can handle hallucinations.
Okay, wonderful. And when it comes to handling the scalability for high interaction volumes without increasing the cost, I mean, is the inventor agent capable to handle that kind of a scalability without increasing the cost?
I mean, yes, in some level, yes. I mean, there are, in general, we can scale much larger and faster and cheaper than you could scale any sort of other type of human-based resource. That being said, I mean, there are, if you're going orders and orders of magnitude more interactions, there are computational costs that add up, but it's, on a transactional level, they're very minimal.
Okay, that's great to know. And I think this could be the last question for today's webinar, and probably the most important one. I'm referring to the security measures which are in place to protect customer and business data when it comes to complying with the industry-specific regulations such as GDPR, HIPAA, and some of the other norms with respect to the data security.
Sure. And I'm sure, as you and most are aware, Excella and even the nventr solution operates in a lot of these most secure environments. So we have obviously HIPAA based deployments, PCI compliant based deployments. So we're well aware of that. Now when you bring the agent into the mix, there are a few, I kind of alluded to them before, but so in terms of interacting with these large LLMs, so our agent, we actually automatically map to, I think, over 5 different LLM-based options, from the llamas and chat GPTs and GROQ, which is very fast inferencing-based one. So we self-host a lot of these models, or we offer that self-hosting option so that they can be entirely within the Excella infrastructure. And so the data never leaves the Excella infrastructure. That's one option that, by being able to self-host these models, we can deal with that. And then for API-based deployments, we have redaction modules and obfuscation modules where we can, as part of the workflow, we strip out and anonymize any sort of sensitive information prior to anything being fed into the AI or the LLM.
Okay, that's really nice, and compliance could be the most important aspect for any of the clients planning to onboard. So I think that will be all. I think we are already overboard as far as the time is concerned, but we would like to thank you, Kai, for you're taking out time today morning and taking us through some of the valuable insights. and all the audience also for some of the wonderful questions we got our way today. Really nice to kind of interact with all of you. And like I said, this is just the tip of the iceberg. So stay tuned for more information and future webinars also. And we look forward to connect with you all soon. Thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of the day or evening, wherever you are. Thank you.
Thank you.